Greetings, family. Welcome to the Grand Rising Collective. My name is Kyle Dixon, co-host, educator, and entrepreneur for 20 years. Grand Rising Collective's here is to cultivate greatness in ourselves and our community.
And my name is Kayode Bentley, co-host, educator, and entrepreneur for over 20 plus years. My contribution to Grand Rising Collective is to help cultivate that greatness in ourselves and the community through impactful discussions, seminars, and webinars with my co-host, Kyle Dixon.
Greetings, family. This is Kyle Dixon here. Another Grand Rising Collective podcast episode for you and your pleasure. Welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome. Greetings. Again, this is a platform where we talk about issues, we talk about solutions, more so that are happening with ourselves, the community as a whole, and just things that are relevant to our everyday lives. So without further ado, definitely want to introduce my co-host, Kayode Bentley. Say what's up to the people, Kayode.
What's up, people? I'm glad to be here. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Yes, indeed. And of course, we have another special guest for this series that we're doing in regards to relationships, in regards to men and women coming together, solving these kind of cantankerous issues, this tension that's going on, or seems to be going on. But welcome to our special guest, Nashana Holmes. Nashana, how are you doing today?
I'm good, and you? Thanks for having me back for more discussion.
Indeed. Yes. So, family, we've been doing this series in regards to relationships with Nashana, and we've been talking about certain dynamics of relationships, intimate relationships, how to do relationships properly, what people expect, expectations. The last video we did was 50-50, 100-100 dynamic we talked about. So today we're going to talk about friendships, right? Friends. How many of us have been friends? So, I mean, that's a huge topic. What is a friend? Who is a friend? What are friends? Do you need friends? No new friends, as Drake said, no new friends. But, I don't know about that. I don't know. We're going to talk about it. So we're going to jump right into it, family. So, Kayode, Nashana, what's up? What's going on with this whole friends stuff? You need them. You rather need them, not have them. Don't need new ones. Go with the old ones. What's up?
Gotcha. Thanks for the Houdini flashback, Kyle. Appreciate you. Those of you who don't know who Houdini is, that's Houdini. Right. I would like to take this time to read a commenter that we have. I'm not going to say who from, but I think that's a good way to introduce this topic that you brought up, Kyle, which is pretty good. So it reads, friendships. In reality, every relationship in our lives should model the same commitment and loyalty. There is this unspoken thing amongst women that we seem to pour more into a man than each other at times. Also, the importance of having friendships. It brings balance and stability. And even looking at male and male relationships versus women and women, how it looks different. Why it looks different, in our opinion, and research to back up our thoughts on that topic. So just break that down. So just look at the first sentence about friendships, because in reality, every relationship in our lives should model the same commitment and loyalty. And then I'll combine it with, there is this unspoken thing amongst women that we seem to pour more into a man than each other at times. So I guess the point being made there is that, I don't know, is it a myth or is it fabricated? Maybe on some point delusional, that women feel they pour more into a man than a man pours into a woman? Is that is that the general consensus that women feel? Nah, because let's keep it real. Women be like, man, I don't know how, I look at like YouTube videos, right? So that there's an online community as it were, right? Because I'd be surprised when I speak to people, even my colleagues and stuff like that. I say, "Did you see this video online?" Blah, blah, blah. Nah, I never heard of it. These are things that I'm thinking everybody knowing. I'm late with I think everybody know this already, and I'm late getting to it because the video I see was posted up 2 years ago, and I'm like, yo, you mean to tell me? So the sense of that is, women have this thing. There's this contentious question that women can't stand when it's asked, and that's that table question. What do you bring to the table? Oh God, women have a fit about that. What do you mean? What I bring? I hate that question. You know what I'm saying? So, when you at women like, what you talking about? I bring to the table. That whole thing. I'm the table. So, having said that, in line with the question, I'm assuming men have to provide, protect, provide provision and all that other. This is what we bring. These are tangible things we bring to the table. And when we ask women what they bring to the table, their attitude is me. I bring me to the table. That whole thing. So, and I'm tying that into the statement that's here. Women feel, according to the statement, it says there's an unspoken thing amongst women that we seem to pour more into a man than each other at times. So the each other, I'm assuming, is the man. So apparently women feel they pour more into a man than a man pours into her. So when you pose that table, what do you bring to the table? Women are like, yeah, Nashana, I see you inhaling.
No, I saw that differently. I saw it as like men and women relationships versus women and women relationships. So that women tend to, on occasions, can pour more into their man than they can into their friend. So that's how I saw that comment. But to go, let's go where you took it. I don't know why that table question. I'm not even saying that it doesn't agitate me. I don't know why that table question is agitates women. I don't know what it is. I guess it's that's a good one. I guess it's an unspoken. I don't know why. Why?
I think it's a transactional thing. I think it's
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it seems so transactional. It seems so very void of like emotion or connection. It just seems like very kind of like a standard, like a negotiation in a sense of negotiation, meaning like there's no emotional ties to it. It's just very like standard and removed. That's what it seems like for me. That's what it seems.
No, that's it. You made sense out of it. So that's what it is. That's why it may be women may take it offensive because we are more emotional type creatures. So it's like, what do you mean? Why? Like, if I'm here, then, I'm bringing all of this, which is maybe different. So like when men lay it out, you lay it out. Women, it's like, my emotions show you why I'm here. My emotions show you, why I'm, with you, or even to the fact that if you guys are courting or getting married, as to why I'm making career changes, maybe more financially benefiting to both of us. So I think that's more, maybe Dixon made 100% sense as to why it may be offensive, because it's like, huh? Like, is this a new job?
Right.
Yeah, it is. It is a job. Daggone it. It is a job.
Right. You're right.
I'm coming from a jaded. I'm gonna be honest. I'm coming from a jaded perspective. I can own it. I mean, I'm in general. I'm a romantic at heart and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know how. I guess it's a man trying to say, listen, just break the. Come on, all right. So recently in the news, and tying up with this relationship, it may be off tangent or what have you, but Tyrese got divorced, what, 2 years ago, 5 years ago or something like that? Tyrese, right? Tyrese, it's so funny when you think about it. It's so complex too, and so convoluted, right? So Tyrese was being clowned years ago for crying on social media, talking about his ex-wife taking him to court for his child with this alimony. He was like, "Why is this happening to me?" Crying all over, right? Saying he gets married to this other young lady who's so-called a Christian, what have you, did his homework. Now she's divorcing him, right? And he's online talking about, I don't know what I did wrong. She still didn't tell me, whatever. So as we tied into like what you bring to the table, and then we look at today's society, which you talked about in the last conversation, women saying, if I'm here, I'm showing you that. What do you mean what I bring to the table? You ought to be lucky. You ought to be lucky that my time.
You ought to be glad.
You know what I'm saying? Here it is. Here it is. I hear this, and Nashana tell me that now I don't. I'm the prize. I'm the prize. Come on, right? So, right? Come on now. I'm the prize, really? So I'm like, but men are like, all right, so you see how much you are. All right, so what are we talking about here? All right, so you can see what I'm bringing, and that's like you said, Nashana, we're logical, right? So men are logical, women are more emotional. So there has to be some kind of understanding. So men are saying, okay, this is what I'm bringing to the table. You can see this. These are tangibles that I'm bringing. Okay, what are you bringing to the table besides just yourself? Because if that's the case, if you're bringing yourself to the table, as a man, I'm bringing myself to the table too. I'm here. I'm showing you how much I love you because I'm here. Just like you bringing yourself to the table. You're showing me how much you love me. We're both here. Okay, so now it's balanced, right? So now it's even. We're both here. You consider yourself the prize. What am I? Chopped liver? What am I? I'm not, what's going on? All right, so now that we're on the balanced playing field, let's start breaking down now. What else do we bring to the table? So I'm bringing provision. Or you say I'm bringing protection, right? I protect you. Okay, what's your equivalent to that? All right. So in addition to protection, I'm bringing finances, because just not play like we don't know. I've heard this growing up, so tell me if I'm right or wrong. A man's money is her money.
Oh my God! I heard that too.
Right? A man's money is her money, but her money is her money, not his money.
Let me chime in on this one. Let me chime in on this one, because this is a thing that has been said, and I've heard this every so often, in circles and in certain conversations, and it's a whack comment. It's just whack. It's very lopsided, and that's why I think men, in regard to intimate relationships, tend to not really trust it, because when you start hearing things like that, and then people are basing their expectations on those type of premises, it already starts off on the wrong foot, and I want to take it back and keep connecting it. What we do we do our friends like that? Is that how we treat our friends? Like, do we say that to our friends? Like, what do you bring? Hey, friend, what do you bring to the table? Is that how we function? I'm just asking, family. Again, this is a question for us on here on the talk today, but also for those who are watching. Like, is that what we do? I mean, if we do, let's call it out. Let's talk about it. But do we do that?
I don't think you verbally do that,
okay,
but I do think you do that internally, because you befriend who you connect to, right? So it's some type of connection or some type of thing that's going to draw, right? Everyone is not your friend, right? It's certain things or certain qualities that draw you to that person, which in reality, if you start to look through the list, you'll notice that a lot of your friends have some of your same goal patterns. It just naturally just tends to happen like that, right? So you usually don't see friends. Well, I don't usually associate with people that don't have some of the same qualities and principles and goals and values and morals that I have. That's not something we put on the table, though. We don't say, well, what you do or what you do. What can you bring? It just naturally tends to happen like that. So maybe that is the concept or the brain mechanism we should use in relationships as well. Friends, right? If you really start to pay attention to who you befriend, and you really start to pay attention to who you may date or attract. I heard someone tell me before, who you date or attract is a reflection of yourself. I heard someone tell me that. That's a hard knock on when you don't do too well in your selection. But if you start to think like that, it's like you kind of do. Your friends do bring stuff to the table. They kind of do. I mean, kind of do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Nashana. That's exciting. I wanted to jump in on that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, but I'm saying so. But like, even in that, how do you? I know Dang, it may just be a man and woman thing. I don't know. That's so interesting. Because if my friend comes to me and say, "Okay, what new goals you have?" or I wouldn't find offense in it, because I
Mm,
would see them wanting to speak into me, to build me, to see, like, oh, okay, Shauna, like, what's going on now? Like, it don't look like much. Like, I wouldn't get offensive,
mm.
with that from my friend, but I don't know what it is with men and women. I don't know if it's just we operate different, so we have to learn to communicate differently with each other in order to have those conversations. I know there's a certain level of vulnerability and comfortability that needs to be in place before those conversations are had. Maybe.
Your friends are your friends, but your significant other is different, right? So that's why. Well, there's two things to that, right? So that's
Are they?
one. Yeah. So that's one. The other one is, there's a question that comes up, and it cliches too. There's a question that comes up, um, with regards to how can I phrase this? You don't. Me and Cal are friends. We're colleagues, whatever the case would be, but the relationship is not the same. Like, well, for example, all right, let's bring this up. There's a question that's been posed where it says, can you have a platonic relationship with the opposite sex? Can
Yes.
men actually be friends with women without that intimate component or sexual component being involved? Is that realistic? Like,
Yes.
how many of us, as a whole, Cal, not
Okay.
exceptions, so how many
I
of
mean,
us, I mean, really, we're like the women and men, come on, yeah, all right,
I think so. No, I think so. Let me chime in on this. I think so because one, I've done it. Two, I know other people who have done it. And again, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I'm also learning as well, is that the sexual component and the intimacy component is reality, right? You have that, and I think what we start to do a lot of times is, like we say, friends with benefits, right? We say the friends with benefits means sexual benefits, right? And again, it kind of convolutes like what is a friend. So I think we need to go back to define like what is a friend, like what, and there are levels of friendship. There are levels of friendship. Like you and I, Kayode, we're friends and colleagues. So we have a friendship, a bond, a brotherly bond, but it's also we work and do this together. So we're colleagues in that sense too, And then also we know how to separate between colleagues and friendship. I know the difference between when you're telling me something as a colleague, and I know this when you tell me something as a brotherhood friendship. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes those do mesh together, but sometimes they are separate. It's like, hey, if I do something that's not conducive to the platform, Kayode is going to pull me in as a colleague, but also is going to be a little bit of that brotherly friendship as well. But if he's yelling at me, which doesn't happen, y'all, because we respect each other. But if he's stern or he's really serious about something, it's not like, damn man, well, you my friend. Like friendship isn't always like, not I was gonna say lovey-dovey, but the friendship is always not like, hey, everything's all right and everything's always cool. Like, no, there's some times where things need to be handled seriously. And then I need to take account of respect that he's telling me something that's beneficial,
but
so people kind of convolute those things. Yeah.
all right, so hold on, but there's this thing, because this is a very complex conversation. We're touching just on it. I think we're just hitting the surface. So here's this other thing, right? So in regards to that dynamic, no, all right, there may be, I don't think there's a lot of relationships that are male women that can purely be platonic. Like, or family, those who are listening and watching, forgive me. Yeah, forgive me, because I know it seems like we jump from topic to topic, but all these things flood in. Because there's all these things, and I'm trying to pace it out, but all these things play a part. So there's a situation, Cal, where we have a reputation as men as wanting to stick our thing in any hole. Let's keep it real. Let's be 100, right? So whenever the dynamic house, you ever heard the term housewife? Excuse me. That's my my job husband. Yeah, my work husband and my work wife. These stereotypes or what have you happen for a reason, right? Come on, let's just keep it. There's a statement that also says there's a study actually that says men can sleep around and not it won't affect their relationship, right? So men can have sex with women and not be like
as emotionally connected,
right, compared to a woman. So before a woman sleeps with a dude, right, she has to be emotionally connected to him first, because if she sleeps with a dude, it's already over. She's already left you if she slept with somebody else. As opposed to us, we can sleep with a girl and we can still come home and love our wives the same, or love our girlfriends the same, or what have you. So getting back to your point, Cal, that you were saying that you've had, connect, like, in regard, I think the relationship, me and Cal, that's my brother, man. That's my homeboy, or what have you. So when I speak to him and we talk about means, we talk about, he's going to take it a certain way, because that's my dude. That's my brother. You know what I mean? That's how we. But if I can say, let's keep it real. I can say the same thing to you, Cal, right? The way I bring it to you. And Cal, like, I got you, K. All right, cool. Nah. I say that to a woman, not you, Nashana. I do. But I say that to a woman because she's emotional. She's going to take it a totally different way, bro. She's not going to, you know what I'm saying? So just that dynamic in and of itself kind of lends itself to how, when I said before apples to oranges, I don't think you can have the same dynamic that you have with a guy that you can have with a woman. I don't think it's the same. I think we're assuming that women could process the information or process what's saying the same way a dude would, and I don't think it's the same. I honestly don't think that. But that's just my opinion, right? And then we're going to tie it into that platonic thing. I think in any relationship where it's man, it is another thing. I don't know. You don't watch this. You probably don't. Fresh and Fit, right? Where you have these girls, Nashana, comment on this. You have these girls that says, "Oh, he's just my friend." Friend zone. Let's talk about friend zones, where these women put guys in friend zones. I mean, there's so much. There's so many topics.
Talk about that.
Yeah, because there's so much. Yeah. There's so much. There's so many parts to this thing. So, right, Nashana want to say something. So hold on, let's get this one out, Nashana.
No, I don't want to say anything.
Nah.
Come on, let's go. So, friend zone.
Hey, I'll go. Hey.
Come on, you got these guys that you put in friend zones, right? You know he's feeling you. You'll be lying too. Not you, Nashana. But I say that I'm talking about women. Not you. You'll be lying. You'll be putting these dudes in friend zones that you know, like, well, he's this nice guy. He's not the rough that I'm talking about women, right? Friend zones. You know he likes you. Blah, blah. So here's the point I'm trying to make. There have been countless discussions that I've seen where women say, "Oh no, he's just a friend. He don't want me intimately." We talk about that dynamic, right? Whereas you could be friends with opposite sex and nothing there, and there's this friend. You got a friend. These women think that they just friends. He don't want nothing, and then they be challenged. I call him up. Your so-called friend that you feel don't want anything to do with you. He don't want to sleep with you, and they just tell him, "I'm feeling frisky. I'm feeling. How come we never dated? How about you come over and we do the thing," or whatever the case may be. And 9 times out of 10, if not 100 times out of 10, when she says that, if she does it convincingly, he's always down. He's always down to, so women, I'm telling you, men, I don't think any man, if he's around long enough or if he's in the friend zone, is strictly there in the friend zone just to be friends. I think any man in a relationship with a woman, ultimately he's hoping that sooner or later, like if she's in a relationship or what have you, or she's like, whatever, I'm talking about that friend zone type guy, he's hoping to, as we use the term, I hope it's not derogatory, but he's hoping to smash. I'm just saying.
Right. It's derogatory. That's a derogatory.
That's a derogatory. Yeah. Okay. So I apologize for that, but he's hoping to be intimate.
That's what people say though.
Right. So he's hoping to be intimate, right? I also have the opposite, right? So real quick, and I'll leave it up. Please comment on this. Where I have countless, I run a business, right? So I run an organization, and I've had many women, and this is not an over exaggeration, that I'm hesitant in hiring because I feel that dynamic is going to change. I feel it. I think women have in their head that we men are horny all the time, and all we want is one thing, and they have ulterior motives. So I've had countless women that I've had work for me who had an ulterior motive, and they wanted You know, it wasn't purely platonic is what I'm saying. It wasn't like they just wanted to work to just work. It was along the line. Just be real. When you work with somebody long enough, you develop a certain connection with them. Can we agree with that, right?
Yeah.
And
that makes sense.
And that connection includes that intimate component. I'm just being real. There's a certain thing that you see from the other person, and that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going with this topic in and of itself. That's why I think when we're comparing apples to oranges in regards to men's relationship with men, women's relationship with women, I think in that context, men with men, yeah, it could definitely be platonic, right? Because I ain't going into the LGBTQ community. I'm not doing any of that. Or women, yeah, definitely. But when it comes to men and women, and we're talking about friendships and we're talking about relationships, there's always that intimate component that comes in, and I don't think there could ever be a purely platonic thing like that. Okay. That was long, man. That was convoluted too.
Yeah, it was. But good point. Good points. I mean, Nashana, I definitely want to hear your comments.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. He does.
I don't know. To me, I get what you're trying to say. I don't get what you're trying to say. I get what you're saying. But to me, I have a hard time because then it kind of distorts the what intimacy is. So we're saying intimacy is only physical actions. Like I'm intimate with my girlfriends. You're intimate. I mean, I don't know why we kind of distorted that term. That's another conversation.
I like what she's going with this though.
When you say intimate, always is attached to some type of physical stuff, but that's not always true. At the end of the day, we desire levels of intimacy in every relationship. For some reason, as a human nature, we just think it's between men and women. I'm gonna leave that alone. I think what kind of bothered me, what you were saying was like, so you're saying that because to me, that's a lack of maturity then, that there's no way that men and women can be friends. Is that true, or does that speak to someone's maturity or capability? Because there are some situations, and then the friend zone thing, that does exist. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. That does exist. But in some cases, you can genuinely see, this is my friend. Like you can see that this person, even though it may be of the opposite sex, it is my friend. Now, as a society, we have perverted the capability and diminished the capability of men and women being able to be friends. Like, does that exist? I'm not saying that it always works. I'm not saying that, because you were right. We have a percentage. I'm quite sure you can find studies and research as to where friends of benefits came into the relationship. But I do honestly believe that it can work. It can exist. I sincerely do. I believe, like, I have brothers, and like they're my brothers, like, and I wouldn't say, oh, I friend zoned them or I did that. They're my brothers, and they have spouses and relationships and different things like that. And we're sincerely brother and sister. Now, that may be easier for me to come because I come from the church background. So my dynamics in that is a little different, and in my role there, it may be different. So it may be easier for me to be able to foster these relationships. But as a society, it's hard for me to take in and to accept that men and women cannot be friends. Now, you have to be mature. Like, I know if I'm attracted to you, I can't befriend you on that level, because I know that no, but if there is maturity, and we see that we have, like me and Dixon are friends, like, I see the way he thinks and the way it stimulates me mentally, you know what I'm saying, as a friend. And there's nothing wrong with that level of intimacy as a friend. Like, why does everything have to be so perverted? Like, I don't know.
So let me answer that, and this is great because this helps me keep it within that context. So, all right, so understand this, all right, and this, I think, where it gets convoluted. So yeah, the perversion with intimacy. First of all, we're indoctrinated as a populace with these images of sexuality from when we're young, right? Even Disney, if you do research on Disney, There's a study on Disney that talks about, if you look at the cartoons, I'm about to drop some stuff on you. I don't know this already. If you look at the cartoons, and there's the YouTube videos that y'all can look up now, Disney and sexual innuendos in the cartoons. The cartoons that they have that little kids watch show images of genitalia. You don't even realize it. It's in a general, if you look on family, you're viewing this, take a look at it.
Definitely family. Just research it, family. Just
research it. If you do history on Mickey Mouse and Disneyland and all that other stuff, it's perversion like you wouldn't believe. The whole like Mickey Mouse Club growing up and all that is Hollywood perversion. So we're indoctrinated as young kids with these sexual images that we don't even realize cloaked in the cartoons. Not lying. So it's already embedded in our heads to associate. It's just what it is. All right? I'm not going to get it. Just look it up.
Right.
So, and when we talk about intimate, I'm sorry it's that way. It's perverted, but it's just what it is. I'm trying to stay on point with you, Nashana, because you brought up some very valid stuff. So intimacy, can exist. I'm not saying it doesn't, but you made up a very valid point. You, Nashana, and this is directed at you specifically for what you said. You said if you know that you are attracted to this individual, right? You know you can't be friends with them, or you are cognizant of that, right? That's you. And you was talking about, well, then if I can't have that type of pure intimacy with a person that doesn't involve sex, then that's a level of immaturity. You're right. It is a level of immaturity, and you'd be surprised that just because you may be 30, 40, 50 years old, that these 30, 40, 50 years aren't mature. I can't tell you, and I'm gonna be real careful as I say this. Me as a person, I realize that I'm on the same conscious level that you are, Nashana, right? So when I walk down the street, right, and I see a woman in provocative clothing, those tight spandex and all that other stuff, I'm conscious of that. As a man, come on, it's not pretend that we men over here, right? So as men, because that's how we're biologically built. We see the femininity in women. We see that's what attracts us. That's the curves and stuff like that. But I'm consciously aware of that. So I make sure every point when I'm walking down the block, I see a woman in production, I keep my eyes straight. I don't look back. I can't tell you how many times. I'm starting to see a little change, though. I got to say, thank God. I can't tell you how many young men that I see generally. It's funny, young men don't even act that way. But I see people my age, 30s, 20 years old, a woman walk by in provocative clothing. They're literally breaking their neck to see, what she's wearing and stuff like that. I see old men in their 70s, gawking at women, young women, and you know what I'm saying? So when we're talking about age and the level of maturity and stuff, I'm sorry, but just because you're old don't mean you're mature, like you said. That's one point. The second point is you're cognizant of that. But like, again, the kind of misinformation, what have you, he may not see it the same way you do. You see it that way. You got it on lock. That doesn't necessarily mean that he does. And then this whole thing, just keep it 100. And then just because somebody's married, don't mean they faithful either. Just because somebody claims they're in a committed relationship, don't mean they're faithful either. So you can have friends with somebody and your comfort level with that individual is one in which you feel comfortable that you don't have to worry about their intimacy being perverted and associated with sex because this person is committed with somebody else. You may feel that way, but this other individual may not, just because they're in a relationship. For me, I know I'm not with this person 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I don't know what they do in their private time. I don't know what they're doing. I know how they present themselves to me, and how they present themselves to me is a boundary that I set that they respect. That is one thing, right? If they respect your boundaries, kudos to them. But that's not to say you don't know if one thing leads to another and a certain circumstance leads to whatever, that, you might see a different side of them, because we all got two sides, man. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's kind of what I'm trying to say in terms of the dynamic between men and women and how, how that could play out. So I hope I wasn't too long-winded in that explanation.
No, not at all. I don't think so. I think you brought some really valid points, because like she's saying, that maturity level, we could assume that because of they're older, they're mature, but we know that's not the case, because people are 40 going on 14, or they're 50 going on, 13, you know what I'm saying? So that's something that definitely needs to be discussed and can be definitely talked about ad nauseum, because we know people's development. We call it what, arrested development.
Yeah.
We are at a people, not just Black folks, but people in general at arrested development. And like you said, Kayode, we've been indoctrinated with this by sexual images, perverted sexual images. What is sex? What is intimacy? We talk about in one of my community classes that people say sex and then intimacy, but intimacy is before sex. And like Nashana was saying, sex, just because you're having sex doesn't mean you're intimate, right? All those dynamics, right? It's like, like she said, intimacy is not just a sexual thing, physical thing, but there's certain intimacy levels in friendship, whether it be platonic friendship, brotherhood, sisterhood, siblings, parents. Again, it doesn't always have to be like a physical sexual nature. And that's the saying that, like you said, that's why we're indoctrinated with that here in America and probably some other places too. The question I want to pose is, how do we go about navigating through that? Because like you mentioned, the friend zone, that's a heavy thing among guys, the friend zone. What I'm coming to see is that, like you said, Kayode, you mentioned a great point, and Nashana, you did too, deception, right? Deception. And like, you're being around somebody that you are attracted to, but yet you choose, all right? I'm putting this on you, family. You choose to stay around that person because of, for whatever reason, right? For whatever reason it is. It could be, you don't want to lose them. You find them so attractive. You just want to be around, whatever the reason, but you chose that because the only person you're hurting is you. The only person you're affecting truly is you, because especially if you didn't tell the person. If you're around them and you're truly attracted to them, but then you're not letting them know for whatever reason, they're going to reject you, fear rejection, fear of abandonment, whatever those fears you got going on. You know what I'm saying? Because I've done it. I've done the friend zone. I've done it. I'm not going to front. I've done the friend zone. I've been the person next to the person. I was like, I had a crush on, I had an attraction to. But what did I not do? I did not tell that person that. Why? Because of fear rejection. So that's something I had to deal with. And I had to be straight up with myself and say, if I'm going to be around a woman that I'm attracted to, I'm going to let her know. And then I'm not going to be scared if she say, well, you know what? We can no longer be close like that. Or I'm going to remove myself because I said, hey, I presented it to you. She wasn't with it. She wasn't with having taking us further into a more intimate, maybe sexual level. Pieces, I'm out. Because why would I do that to myself? And this is what a lot of people are doing to themselves, making this choice. So I want to put that onus on the family. Like, what are some ways that we could kind of counteract that or begin to change that, because it is an issue.
One of the things we lack as a society is having these tough conversations, these hard talks. I mean, it's necessary. All right. And I know we as a culture do a lot. We talk so much, we don't do any action. But part of my makeup, part of my thing is, there's a statement that I don't know if you heard of Frederick K. Price. He says that once you've been informed, now you're accountable. You can't use the excuse you don't know. Right?
Is it Reverend or Pastor Price?
Pastor Price, right? He passed on. But one of the things he said growing up, he says, once you're aware, once you've been informed, now you're accountable, because now you know. You can't use that I didn't know excuse, right? So I think part of the problem that we don't want to have these tough conversations. We don't want to have these tough talks. And if we do have these talks, it's always circumvented and, excuses are given and validated. I don't do that. I dig into a conversation, as uncomfortable as it may be, because ultimately that's how I was raised. I thank God for the discipline that my parents gave me. I thank God for the medicine that we get. Sometimes what hurts us is to help us grow. Sometimes what hurts us is what helps us develop. But you know what they say: if whatever don't kills you, make you stronger. So you have a situation. It's supposed to, right? So we have a problem in our culture, and the problem that we have in our culture is part of it is the relationship part. And Cal brings up all the time, family is the most rebellious thing you could do is build a family. Right, that's the the nucleus family, whatever. Because that's what's so we have to figure out a way to solve this. So I just wanted to say the conversations, if it's not as light for me anyway, comfortable, is because I really like to dive into these conversations. I really like to put things out there for people to really think about, as uncomfortable as it may be. Okay, so Cal, to your point, right? Yes. Repeat, what was your question again, if you can remember? Because I want to make sure I don't go off on a tangent in answering. But I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, so my question was posed to the family, like, how do we solve that issue? Because again, these are friends, because the theme of friends, right? These are so-called friends, but we want them to be more than just casual friends.
Okay, so
we want the friendship to be deeper. intimate, sexual nature of friends.
So I see there's two men here and one woman. So I want to seem like we're bashing you, Nashana. But
no, Nashana, please.
All right. So I think I don't. All right. So if we look at the data, we look at the statistics, what have you, and we keep it honest, we be real. There's 80% of women that's choosing 20% of the men. Right? Because on average, I think they said 1 in 4 or 1 in 3 men aren't in relationships and don't have intimacy. And what I mean intimacy, I'm talking sex. So there are a lot of men out here that aren't in relationships. There are a lot of men out here, according to the data, facts, and statistics, that aren't having sex. It's the top 20% that, have full reign, because these 80% of women are looking for these 20% of men. And if you look at the generations that have grown up, when you ask them what's their criteria or their type of man, he has to be 6 feet, 6-pack, and make 6 figures. That's what they're saying, right? Now, I know that's not everybody, but the generation of women that we have growing up today, with the advent of social media and Instagram, right, feel that they can have that because these so-called 20% of men are reaching out to them on Instagram because of their beauty, looks, whatever. And then when they get to that wall at 30, what have you. So to your point, Cal, and Nashana, please comment on this. I think it's, and I could be wrong, but I think it's women that feed off of the attention that they get from men when we talk about friend zones. So they know the guy is they know the guy's interested in them, right? But they friend zone him. But because of the attention that they get from that guy, they disingenuously keep him around. Because whenever they get upset or whenever they pursued some dude and he dropped them, or the guy she was looking for, whatever, they can always go to this friend zone guy and get that emotional support, get that, validation that they need to boost up their ego, to help them feel comfortable in whatever they feel bad about. So I think to a large extent, women, again, I'm biased, I'm a man, I'm saying it, need to do what Kyle is talking about in regards to being honest with them and say, listen, I don't like you that way. I'll never like you that way. So if you still want to be around me, all right, that's on you. But I'm just letting you know, I'm being honest with you. This is how I feel with it. I don't. So don't try and stay around thinking you're going to catch me off. Because it happens, right? She falls, but I'm saying generally, I don't like you this way, blah, 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 blah. I think it's more on the women to do that, because I don't think men by large have a bunch of women in their friend zone. And I'm not talking about the men that women are attracted to, because there are men out there that got women like dying for them, and I get that, but I'm saying in general, it's more women that have men in friend zones than men that have women in friend zones. And I think because of that, I think to Cal's point, women should be like, this is the truth. I don't feel you that way. So if you still want to be in my friend zone, that's on you, but I'm not feeling you. So what do you think about that, Nashana? To Cal, did I address your point? That's the point?
Yeah.
So what do you feel about that, Nashana?
I mean, I feel like it can go. I know you're saying 20%, 80%, but I feel like it can go both ways. I really do feel like it can go both ways. Because I really do believe it can go both ways. I think there may be some situations and times where men know too that a woman is attracted, and they just keep them around just for that, whatever it is, maybe different dynamic than what keep women around men. But I think it can go both ways. We got to look at some more studies. I really believe it can go both ways. But either which way,
I can, and because I've seen it in real time.
Yes. So I believe it can go both ways. I don't think it's I think maybe more research and study needs to be done to look at the dynamics of it.
What is it?
I can't even say.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, I can't even say that what you're saying about friend zoning and not. At the end of the day, it is wrong. I'm not gonna even say that it is right. It is wrong, and it is done for selfish reasons, as to just want to go out, or and it does. You don't take into I I think sometimes you don't take into accountability, going back to maybe like our first taping, that man is human too. So
Mhm.
that can affect them as well. In doing that, I guess it's just this unknown factor again of, men are strong, they could, they can handle it, and it's just not really, we're not really taking or doing a good job on both ends, females and males, and understanding our emotional makeups and what that looks like. And it relationships take a lot of work. I really do. And I can't
Do.
even, I'm not gonna even sit up here and, and be like, I'm a pro. And no, I don't have much experience. Long relation. I'm not going to do that. This is just based on my observation, evaluation, and what I believe to be true, Um,
Thank you for
but
that.
I think to go back to just the maturity level of the individual, I heard someone say before, wherever you have like a tragic event or something happens to you in life, usually if you don't get any help, you stay there. Right. So whatever tragically happens to you, so that could be 16, so I could be 45, 46. If I haven't dealt
Mhm.
with that 16-year-old tragedy, my behaviors will still emulate that, copy that. So I believe there's validity to that as to why some people, and to be honest, growing up in single parent household, right, not having that male figure as a model, I know for me personally, I'm bumping into these things. The more knowledge that I learn from men or just learn, it makes me do a self-examination. And maybe everyone, and again, that goes back to your willingness and and just wanting to be able to see that, and what expands your, that uncomfortability. I
Yeah.
can't say sitting here talking to you guys is like the most comfortable thing. I was challenged doing this. But I truly believe that God puts me in situations for a reason. So that's what drives my faith and drives me to take those steps, to be like, okay, this is uncomfortable, I don't know where we're going with this, but I'm not gonna. I can't take offense to it. I have to grab the meat from it and just really try to learn. And when it comes to friendships, like, I just think that maybe we don't see it modeled well enough. I don't know. We don't do a pretty good job at it. And then maybe that goes into every relationship. That just starts to trickle into every relationship.
We're having this conversation for the community, but also for ourselves as well. And we're growing in the process too. Being vulnerable, talking about these things that are not as comfortable as they would like to be, or we're not as um, successful as we like to be in these categories or these facets of our life. Because like people talk about friends and relationships all the time, but then we have to define, well, what is that? Because in regard to that, like if this is what helps us to navigate life, what helps us to want to be here physically in this life on this earth, then why don't we really focus on cultivating proper relationships and friendships and closeness and intimacy and all these things that we talk about, but we don't, it seems like we don't know what they are.
Yeah.
And that's troubling, and that's why I'm glad for this platform and Nashana being on here, because she's bringing clarity to me, to all of us, and the people who are watching and listening. And again, we're not saying we have all the answers. We're not even saying that. We're just saying that we have to, like Kayode said, we have to bring this up because it's affecting us. And the more we keep avoiding it, it's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse, right? It's just going to get worse if we don't address it properly. And not to demean people, so we're not here to demean anybody, men or women, but we saying we putting our own selves on the line and say, hey, here's what we have experienced. Now, if you experience something different, please share, because that will help change our perspective and give us a better understanding or a better way of dealing with it and maybe overcoming it. But if we're just talking at each other all the time and not really listening, then what's really getting done? What's really getting solved?
Awesome.
Mm.
And Nashana, we have like a few more minutes left. So with the end, if you don't mind, yes, come up with some possible next steps or solutions or tangibles. And hopefully I hope we can continue this conversation, because we're just touching the surface with this stuff. There's so many levels to this thing that, I think we should address, we should talk about, just put it on the table and give our perspective on. So I think that's that doing that is very powerful. So yes, with the few minutes we have left, what are some of the solutions? What we talked about before? We talked about what do you bring to the table, right? We talked, I brought up the situation in regards to, we cleared that up. Women bring more to the relationship than men, but Nashana clarified that. We talked about the men-to-men relationship versus the woman-to-woman relationship, and how I said we're comparing apples to oranges. We talked about the immaturity. There are a lot of things we talked about. So I guess what I'm saying, friend zone. So based on what you have, what how you interpret, what are some solutions that based on what we recall from this conversation, from your perspective, what are some solutions that you can offer?
Sean, you want to go?
I'm still on the mention of the suicide, because in relationships that just hit me hard. Because I think we all know about the young man Twitch, that really hit me hard, and I didn't know him personally, but it hit me hard. Just to see that there's just so many levels, and it goes back to relationships. It really, really, really does. And us not really digging into like what they are. It just, a lot of things are so surface. Like I think that's what this generation, because I've been doing a lot of like research looking at Generation Z and trying to really pay attention to like what they need. And a lot of what I'm reading and research is vulnerability and accountability, which is what it seems that we lack. So I think now, if you think about social media, even though social media has its negatives, there are some positives where discussions are being had and people are able to watch these discussions and just really spark new discussions within, different communities and stuff like that. So I really believe there's a positive aspect to these things. And it really does all go back to, like you said at the beginning, relationships. I mean, men, women, women, men, it just goes back into and what that looks like. So defining what that looks like, and being okay with accepting if, hey, I had some unhealthy, and that's in friendships too. Like, I value my friends, right? I try my best to be an active friend, right? Because life happens and things change, and we change and we grow. Some people will not be with you at the end, but some people are there, supposed to be a part of your circle, and that takes work. And people don't realize all the time that takes work, right? That takes check-ins. That takes times of you just doing different things just to make, you may not be able to spend that time, but just to make sure that you are accountable. And I think that's what it goes to. That's why I would say accountability would be my takeaway. Just really making sure that we accountable for who we say we are in a person's life. We won't get it right all the time. I'm not saying that. There will be times where we will, let certain things fall by the wayside. But if we have in our mind at all the time, I have to hold myself accountable. If I'm saying I'm this person's friend, or I'm in a relationship with this person, whatever it may be, that's another human life. So I need to think of it like that. Like, I need to be responsible in the way that I care for them. Does everyone do that? No. Does it take a lot of work? Yes. But I think that's one thing I would take away, is just accountability. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, as I get older, I start to learn there's nothing wrong with saying I'm sorry, like my fault, I did that wrong, and there's nothing wrong with sharing with a person, hey, that hurt my feelings, or hey, can we discuss this? Hey, I mean, that's another level of vulnerability, which is a discussion by itself, because like Cal said a couple of sessions ago, that it actually takes a strong person to be vulnerable in front of another person, and we're not as strong as we think. We're not as strong as we think. So that'll be one takeaway: just accountability. Just try to hold ourselves a little bit more accountable in our relationships.
Cal, you mind if I'm gonna be real quick, give you the last.
Sure.
All right, so thank you, Nashana. I want to go back to what you said in regards to trauma. This was something that I didn't realize until a few years ago, and I think that's part of one of the many things that plague us as a culture, community. I didn't realize, and this is what I mean, in addition to the programming from the media and all that other stuff, and this is a tough thing I'm about to say, probably. I didn't realize how pervasive, if that's the right word, that sexual assault is within our community and our family. Because we're talking about intimacy, right? And we're talking about maturity. And we talk about how that always ties into sex. And we talk about how the media. I didn't realize, it didn't dawn on me. Because thank God for my mom, she protected me and protected me from my family. That's the part, right? Because a lot, they say studies is a lot of persons sexually assaulted, not by somebody they didn't know. It's always by somebody they did know. So when we talk
somebody
about,
they do know,
right?
aware of, yeah.
So when we talk about sexual assault, as young children, you brought up the age like 13, 14, you could be 40 years old. And because you haven't dealt with the trauma that happened to you at 14, you end up, it stays with you until you deal with it. I think that's what we're seeing in our community, within our culture. A trauma that we've never dealt with. And then tie that into, Kyle, what you said in regards to our stigmatization on seeking help through therapists and counselors. That's always been stigmatized, right, as a negative thing, as weak. So I'm saying that to say, as far my final words, as far as solutions, for us to be aware of the sexual assault that happens to us at a young age, both male and female, that carries with us throughout our relationships, which is why we can't have healthy relationships, because we never dealt with what we've been attacked with and assaulted with early on. So the first thing I would say is for us to be aware of that, acknowledge that, and that it's not a bad thing. That, like you also mentioned, Nashana, vulnerability, right? And then tie that into human life, considering another person's life. That's a maturity stage when we get to the human life, but vulnerability. So I think it's important that we first acknowledge the fact and look into it, do a self-introspection on our relationships, why our relationships has failed, what did I do to contribute to its failure? Is it associated to a sexual assault that I experienced growing up? If it's assaulted to a sexual experience that I experienced growing up, being open to seeking help via therapist, someone's licensed, right? And then just start there and allow that to build. And then, I could go on with that, but I think as far as solutions, I think that's one of the things that I want to contribute to this discussion is acknowledging that, right? That, self-interest, you mentioned it as well, Nashana, relationships are a mirror of ourselves, right? So if you're in this relationship with somebody, it's a reflection of who you are. That's a good place to start. Well, what did I see or didn't like from that person I was in a relationship with? Maybe that's something that'll help me with my self-evaluation process. That applies to me. So I didn't like this, so that means I must be this way. This other person did that. That must mean there's something of me that person did in me. So let me start there. Okay, if that's the case and I don't realize it, now let me seek help, therapy, and make notes. Therapist, this is what I've seen in the other person that's a reflection of me that I may need help. Can you help me do a deep dive and figure out if that's if that's a part of me, and then start that conversation that way. I know that was, but that's what I would contribute as far as solutions that'll help us heal as far as relationships are concerned, because it starts with us.
Great. That's great assessment from both of you all. Jules, gems, family, dropping gems. Please take note because it doesn't take a lot to get the process started, but it's going to be a journey. It's going to be a journey of you requiring to look at yourself and to have patience and grace with yourself. And that's one thing I'm noticing a lot in society is that we're so go, 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 work, 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 that it devalues self. You begin to devalue yourself based on, well, this is my work and this is my job and this is who I am. No, the job is something you do, who you are as a human being. And in America, we associate ourselves a lot with our jobs. Well, I'm a teacher, I'm a this, I'm an engineer, I'm a that. Where versus when you go to other countries, they're like, well, oh, I'm part of this family, I'm from this community. Like it's a totally different association. And but that's indoctrinated in us living here in America. And again, it's not to say that we don't reap the fruits of our labor to some extent. To some extent, we do have more trinkets and creatures of comfort than most places, but at what cost? At what cost? A cost of your sanity, a cost of your morality, a cost of your belief value system of self. And both Nashana and Kayode made some great points. So please take heed. And one thing I wanted to add on to what Kayode said, I think it's, in Nashana, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 women are sexually assaulted, you know, or have been sexually assaulted, you know, and like you're saying, mostly it comes from people that they know of or they are aware that exist, meaning that it comes from family members or someone from the community that they may not be friends with, quote unquote, but they know their face, they know they've seen them before, you know, which is very scary, right? It can be very scary. And then, like Kayode said, you said too, relationships will expose us. I know from now, for me being older and more aware, I'm sure I've been a bad friend, or quote unquote a bad friend to somebody. I'm sure. I didn't think so in the past, but I'm sure I probably have been. And again, not being aware of it, just something I did or said, and they probably wasn't feeling it, you know. But they didn't express that to me. Because people have done it to me and I have not expressed that to them, you know, but now I'm in a place where I can express it respectfully. And like we talked about Brother Tyrese earlier, and, you know, other people who choose to put their lives on social media in that way, you know, we have to begin, like Kayode said, if you keep repeating that pattern, if the same things keep happening, you're going to have to start to look at self and see, how am I playing into this? I'm not saying it's all their fault or all your fault, but you're going to have to start seeing how you plan into these scenarios and why they keep reappearing and why they keep playing out the same way. It has to be something that you're not seeing or you're not getting. And that's where the therapy, the counseling, the jegnas, the mentors, as people call them, the community will help you to become more aware of that, what they say, that blind spot that you have within your way of associating with yourself and associating with people. So I just want to say, give yourself grace and patience and begin to look at self with a certain lens or certain belief system that whatever it is, you can find it out and you can improve. And from that will start the healing, that will start to be more aware of your actions and what you really want out of life. What do you want from your relationships? Do you just want somebody just to be your cheerleader? Do you want somebody that's going to be a cheerleader, but then be your intimate partner? Because I thought it was said that, you know, your mate, if you choose to marry in that way, is supposed to be your best friend. That's what I thought. You know, that's what I've heard throughout the years. But maybe, you know, maybe I'm tripping. I don't know. But I'll just say that, you know, just take the time, because you deserve the time and you're worthy of the time to look into yourself and to begin to ask those questions of what you want from a friendship. How do you want your friendship to work? And am I exemplifying those attributes and qualities of different? There are many more episodes. We just released the episode with Brother Mario Javon Shaw. Definitely check that out. And all the other episodes that we have from many different dynamic people in the community that you may not have heard of, but they have a lot of insightful things to say. And please put your comments in the chat if you agreed, disagreed, if you were triggered. Our bad. It wasn't our intention. We do this with love and kindness and concern for the well-being of ourselves and other people. So again, forgive us on that. But yo, like, share, subscribe. If you don't like it, put it down below. If you do like it, put it down below. If you like us even more, put it down below. Whatever it is, put it down below. And we take donations. Again, we like to take the kind that jingles, but we rather take the kind that folds.